Doma Sports Talk worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Now, might be a little emotion up in this one. I just heard some blasphemous stuff. You know what I'm saying? Some blasphemous stuff coming from the island. Come on, England. Seriously. This is what I just read. Now, Eddie Hearn, boxing promoter extraordinaire, young cat, handled his business in the world of boxing, done some things for Matchroom. Him and his father started, gave him to the son, and he's promoted a lot of guys. His main guy is Anthony Joshua, but promotes a lot of guys. He's in the business. You can't think of, can't think about boxing, especially British boxing or boxing in general, without mentioning Eddie Hearn. He's one of the guys out there. We got the mainstays, but Eddie Hearn is in one of the mainstays. He's out there. He talks a lot. You probably don't agree with him much, right? But you agree with him sometimes, But Eddie Hearn is a promoter. Lots of times we don't agree with promoters. They got to do their job. So basically, lie a lot. You know what I'm saying? They do what they do. But when you ask an objective question like, who's the GOAT of British boxing, right? Me personally, y'all know who my GOAT is. It ain't got nothing to do with Britain, period. The GOAT of British boxing. And his answer was, who did he just say? Carl Froch. Carl Froch. Now, before I go in on this, much props to Carl Froch. I think Carl Froch is also a very tough fighter and handled his business while he was there. He only got one loss, and his loss is to one of a very good fighter, an all-time great in Andre Ward. They never had that rematch. And a lot of the stuff Carl Froch was talking about, his style is boring and all that. When the people start doing that, now I ain't with them, no matter who they are. You have to debore this guy, so to speak. You know what I mean? But he only lost to Andre Ward. Carl Froch done some good stuff, he done some good stuff in his career, all right? And he won all them fights, and he has a granite chin, and he did a lot of stuff. I mean, I got to give it to him. In the Super 6 tournament, he was second behind Andre Ward. You know what I'm saying? In the Super 6 tournament, that was everybody there in that time. And, his big fight against your boy, I forget the name right now, the big 80,000, because he'll tell you 80,000 at Wembley. It's Carl Froch and the dude who used to get on Carl Froch's nerves. I forget his name right now. But Carl Froch was obnoxious there because the guy just wasn't showing him no respect. But be that as it may, Carl Froch is a good, maybe top 5 to 7 British super middleweight. But when you start talking about the GOAT of Britain, and the name ain't Lennox Lewis, we have an issue. It's to the point where does Great Britain, does England, do they deserve Lennox Lewis? Damn it, the answer to the GOAT of England is Lennox Lewis. Now, tell him that you don't think so he can go on and claim Canada or Jamaica or something. It's Lennox Lewis. Period. It is Lennox Lewis. Now, he mentioned, Eddie Hearn mentioned Joe Kozlowski, because Joe Kozlowski did retire undefeated. Now, a couple of those guys that he beat old, it's not his fault that he beat old. The Roy Jones and the Bernard Hopkins of the world and stuff like that. But undefeated. And I don't, these people that be, well, you probably lost this fight or you probably lost that fight. Everybody has got some decisions going their way or close fights. I don't want to hear that. Joe Kozlowski is undefeated. Damn it. Close fight here or there or whatever, or fought somebody then and fought somebody, that ain't your problem. Damn, if I had 40-something fights and I'm undefeated, damn it, I'm undefeated. Joe Kozlowski was all that in the bag of chips. Damn it, give him some props. But he ain't to go. He's behind Lennox Lewis. And he also mentioned Prince Nassim Hamed. And you ain't going to go without mentioning Prince Nassim Hamed. All right? You're going to have to mention him. He mentioned him. And Hamed, listen, if you ain't lived through it, it's a name to you, right? It's a name to you. And you're going to be like, oh, he lost one fight to Barrera. Who cares? If you lived through Prince Nassim Hamed, then you know. He's just was ridiculous. Yeah, and it starts with his ring walk. The best in history. The best in history. To do that with the confidence to come in there with a ring walk like he's going to come in there with is second to nobody, ever, nothing. Best ring walks you ever want to see. And to do that with the confidence to come in there, flip over the top rope, not just jump over it like Chris Eubank Jr., Chris Eubank Sr. I'm flipping over the rope, coming in here. I'm going to fight with my hands down. I'm going to switch hit with power with both hands. And I'm going to be the most obnoxious, loudmouth, confidence-having dude you ever want to see. That was awesome to behold. Prince Nassim Hamed forever. This boy is ridiculous. You had to live through it to understand it. And he was doing this against everybody. Now, Barrera wasn't having it, but damn, everybody has somebody who has their number. I think if Prince Nassim would have just said, okay, well, we rematch Barrera, but at that time, he's probably just, I'm done with this. But if he would have rematched him and just fought him kind of normal, because see, the thing about Prince Nassim is when he got hit, because it's a lot of balance shots, because he was doing a lot of off-balance stuff and leaning, and he wasn't fighting with boxing rules. So if you did hit him while he was doing the lunging and going out, after he swings one of them wild punches and then going straight back and you hit him, it's going to look weird. So it looked like he was really clipping him and stuff like that. So he's going to fall, his gloves going to hit, it's going to look a little awkward because he was doing everything awkward and unconventional. So every time he did get hit, it was a big scene. But I think if he would have just fought normal, Barrera, his ass would have got beat too. Prince Nassim is all that. It's for real. You guys go back, but if you do, go back and try to see if you can watch full fights so you can see him walk up in there and who he's fighting and the record of the other guy that he was fighting and the magnitude of those fights. With Kelly, what was Kelly's first name? Kevin Kelly, I think it was. Yeah, that was legendary too. His first fight going to the States was ridiculous. But anyway, yeah, even him. No, Lennox Lewis. Still, Lennox Lewis. Period. Great Britain. Understand. Lennox damn Lewis. This is a heavyweight. When you start talking about Eddie Hearn started to mention Anthony Joshua in the same sentence, man, really, only if you got to be young to think Anthony Joshua is supposed to be in the same sentence as Lennox Lewis. You got to be young. There's no way you can have seen both of these careers and talk about these two guys in one sentence. First of all, just when it comes to Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder. There would not ever, if Lennox Lewis was Anthony Joshua, we would know who wins a fight between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. Do you mean to tell me there's another guy in the division that got the belt and I ain't trying to get him? With Lennox Lewis, that was nothing. He had one of those situations. That guy's name was Riddick Bowe. Now, for you guys that call Deontay Wilder, Windmill Wilder, skinny legs, well, then let us agree that Riddick Bowe is better then, right? Riddick Bowe is more dangerous than Deontay Wilder, correct? Yeah, well, Riddick Bowe ran from Lennox Lewis. He threw the WBC title in the trash instead of just fighting Lennox Lewis. You want to get your get back because Lennox Lewis had beat Riddick Bowe in the Olympics. So you want to get your get back, normally, in the pros. The pros is different than the amateurs. That's what we all say, right? He didn't want to get his get back. Ever. Just talked. Never wanted to get his get back. Okay? Lennox Lewis went for undisputed. Beat the hell out of Evander Holyfield the first time, got robbed, got a draw. Then beat him the second time. It was close to the second time, but they gave it to the right man, unanimous decision. Listen. Nobody. Mike Tyson. Scariest dude ever, right? Mike didn't want none neither. In his prime. Prime Mike Tyson, yeah, the one that comes out with nothing on except the trunks and the shoes. That Mike Tyson didn't want nothing to do with Lennox Lewis. Fighting David Tours, Shannon Briggs, Vitaly Klitschko's, Ray Mercer's. You know what I'm saying? Beating Rockman when Rockman was Rockman, when Rockman knocked him out and then come back to beat Rockman. Beating anybody, Majkovic. I can't even stop. Who? There was nobody that Lennox Lewis didn't fight. And that was for damn sure, nobody ran after Lennox Lewis talking about, come on, Lennox, let's fight. Nobody. He didn't have none of that. Nothing of that. All that Frank Bruno, because Frank Bruno was like, Frank Bruno and, can you compare Frank Bruno with Anthony Joshua? That, okay, we'll go with that. But no. You're not going to compare anybody to Lennox Lewis. He's got GOAT status, not Britain's GOAT, GOAT period. Everybody. Let alone, so when it comes to Britain, if somebody asks you who's the baddest dude y'all ever produced, it is Lennox Lewis, far and away, and then we can start talking about the rest of them. Now, I ain't British, and I know somebody gonna be like, well, no, it could have been, no, it ain't. No, it ain't. Man, there's nobody in his era that he didn't fight, and he beat everybody he faced. Everybody. And he went after everybody, and nobody came after him. That is not the case with Joshua, and damn sure ain't the case with doped up Tyson Fury. They're not in the same sentence. And now, England, respect your own. Damn it, you have a GOAT there. Respect them. If not, send them to us. We'll take him in a heartbeat. He can change his citizenship. Damn it, that's the bad boy, Lennox Lewis. And it's blasphemous to say somebody else. Anybody else. Doma Sports Talk. Worldwide. And I'm about here, y'all.